Entering the single file line to the exhibition, she thought how different was the experience from the usual museum show. The room ahead was dark, and she entered through a narrow corridor. Inside, a number of large black boxes occupied the room of black walls, floor, and ceiling. With no daylight, the little artificial light revealed persons peeking into round holes, cut at height sufficient for both adults and children to peer into the boxes. The room was very quiet, and she thought back, as she approached the first box, to walking into the operating rooms. One entered in silence and moved toward the group of people peering down at the body of the person on the table. She approached the first box and waited her turn to look. The hole she leaned toward directed her vision to what seemed to be the abdominal area of a woman in a white lacy garment. She remembered how surprised she had been watching the first surgery, that the sight of blood, the internal organs, and the gloved hands manipulating them did not disturb her. But the moment of the violation of the body, of the piercing and cutting of the flesh, and the boundaries between the external and internal organs was always a moment of fear, shock, and sickness. The intestines, pulled out of the abdomen with some lengths laid delicately on the lace of her dress, are rendered with extraordinary lifelike detail. Indeed, she is a beautiful creation. The texture of the wax imitates soft, pliant flesh. The colors succeed in conveying the blush of living flesh and the deeper colors of the organs. 4 hands hold the woman around the abdominal area. One presses gently into her pubic area, itself decently covered by the skirt of her dress. The apparently male hands are detached from their missing arms just above the white starched cuffs, where the thin line of a black coat sleeve completes the suggestion of formal wear. Despite the gaping wound of her abdomen, there is no representation of blood anywhere in the delicate creation of this mannequin. She read in the catalog that whale sperm and fat were used to raise the liquid wax to a temperature allowing pigments of vermilion, saffron, and indigo to be mixed with lac de grasse and added to the mixture. She looks at the legs, crossed at the ankle in a ladylike, yet still coy, suggestive manner. The text describes the mannequin patients as insensitive to pain and having a detached expression. The legs are tied together at the calf with a length of very white linen. She submits to this bondage with closed eyes and a demure hint of a smile. The problem was that religious sanctions prevented the use of human corpses for dissection and instruction. Slit open and tied down, this mannequin wears a gown of white, beautiful, delicate silk, trimmed with lace at the neck, bodice, and sleeves. Leonardo da Vinci was the first noted to have poured wax into a human heart in order to create a wax heart that might be studied by medical students. Her gown appears to be a particularly elegant and luxurious negligee. It is at once a vision of 18th century female modesty, sensuality, and loveliness. Her mouth is frozen in a position of half-openness. It appears to have dropped slightly open as if in a deep sigh, certainly not of displeasure. Her arms are drawn quite prettily back, behind her head, itself gently turned into the satin pillow, as if they were held so. One does not suspect mere sleep as she wears a pearl necklace. Her hair is pulled neatly back into an elegant chignon, with not a hair out of place. Her creation in the posture and expression of perpetual swoon, the physical result of ecstatic, climatic emotion. The male hands and linen restraints suggest that the activity of which she is the focus is both sexual and enforced on her by others. In the 18th century, the models were presented for public amusement as exotic objects of public spectacle. Her layers of abdominal skin, muscle, and fat are pulled apart, and some lengths of intestine are pulled out onto her white robe, revealing a fetus of almost full development. She was billed as the anatomical Venus in 40 detachable parts. One bodiless hand reaches toward the fetus as if to remove it. She consents to being erotically opened, apparently to give up her child. Moving to another smaller box, she peeks in to discover a decapitated lady who has lost her body. Her eyelashes are very long, brown, and exquisitely curled. Her head is rolled gently, pleasurably, slightly to the side, blushingly pink in her swoon. The lovely cheek skin is peeled back, cut away, and arranged in its carefully separated layers of skin, fat, and muscle. Syphilis was rampant in the European population of the late 18th century. It was thought that graphic visual presentations could warn youth and others of the dangers of sexual maladies. Gazing once more at the disembodied, richly attired hands holding that head and cheek, she turned away from the mutilated woman.
Lily.
Lily, what's your last name?
Nelson.
Nelson.
I prefer Trackman, though. Yeah. See, I was born in Russia in 1903. And when the revolution broke out in 1917, I was 14 years old. First thing they started to kill is all the Jews. There was under 65 young boys in the town. They gathered them and they chopped them up to pieces. They wouldn't waste the bullets on them. But everything, the soldiers came around, the bandits, the weren't soldiers, the bandits, was the White Army, was retreating, and then the Red Army started to follow. See, we had no school. There was a school 5 miles, no Jews were allowed to go. When we were little, we had a Jewish, they called him a rabbi. And he taught us Hebrew, to read and to write. The boys first, the girls were after. The girls were nothing. According to the Jewish religion, it's the same like Chinese. A boy had to have an education, a boy had to have a suit. And when I got my first book, I walked home. You know, it was like a couple of blocks. By the time, you know, the little book when you're 6 years old, a reader. And by the time I come home, I finished it and I went back. When I got to be about 10 or 11, I read Tolstoy. I read Turgenev. I had Dostoevsky. I knew all the Pushkin poems. Next door to us lived a doctor, and he subscribed. And War and Peace just come out that time. Or when I was about 10 or 11, so that's about 75 years ago. So it came in chapters, you know, like newspaper chapters. And the children weren't allowed to read because, you know, Tolstoy talked about love, and not sex, but you insinuated. So my friend, her name was Ruza. So Ruza used to steal it, sneak it out to me, and when my mother came over, I used to put it and sit on it. When the war broke out, we had no kerosene, so we used to take a can from shoe polish, put a little oil, and put a wick. And we wasn't allowed to be seen a light because they saw a light, the bandits were right on top of you, right out to kill you. So I used to lie under the bench with read that. And when the moon came out, I used to sit on the windowsill and read. But we were so scared because the bandits ruined all the girls. We were fortunate. My sister and I were never raped. They raped and cut them up and then just left them like that. You know, as true as I'm sitting, I'm not ashamed to say it because the boy across the street from where we lived, but maybe 4 at the tops, because I remember the step that I used to hold on to crawl up. And the boy's name was Bill. Over here would be Boris or Bernie or something like that. So it was next door. So he comes over. This I didn't tell anybody, not my husband, not my children. And he says to me, he says, you know, across the street was the rich Jewish man in town. The fact that he died of syphilis, that's besides the point, because he used to go to big town to whorehouses. But at that time, so this little boy, he was about 5, and I was either 3, either 4. He says to me, "You'll go across and steal some nuts and give me the nuts if I let him feel me." No, I wasn't interested. Yeah, see, when the Bolsheviks declared a revolution, so the White Army started to retreat, and on the way, all the homeless, all the hungry, all the frustrated, everybody followed the army because if the army got something, they ate like this there to stop. So it came in a whole bunch, again got it into a house. I told you all the town was destroyed, most of the houses. House was, because it was near the peasants, they could set on fire. And one put a rope around my father's neck and says, "Why were you born Jewish?" The other one, the young fellow says, "I had rubbers." So he took off the rubbers for my feet. You know, it was winter. And he says, "I'll give the gun to your mother and you come with me in the bedroom." You know what I feel like that is? You know, I knew that they were raping, but I didn't even understand what rape is involved. and I know it was bad because, first of all, you got disease. You know, because the boy from across the street from us, he became a leader in the Russian army. He was same age with me. No, he was older than me. Duja was his name. And he got the syphilis. And the doctor next door to us used to treat him. He used to scream, "So you heard him all of that." 2 soldiers held him, and they burned him. He died anyway. But that I knew, but I didn't know what's involved. As he was talking to me, taking off my rubbers, runs in a soldier and says, "The Reds are coming." See, these were the White Army, the Tsar's armies were retreating. He dropped the rubbers on the floor. He left me standing there, my father with the rope on the neck. There were 13 people in my house. We were the 5 left and 8 were killed. Now you account why them and not us, or why us and not them.
Somehow you made it.
You just can't figure it out.
shaped the pattern that we call the innocence of childhood. Tommy came to the clinic again on the 6th.
Sit down, Tommy. This time I want you to tell me stories about some pictures I'm going to show you. Be sure to tell me the whole story, what went on before, and how the story is going to end.
She's telling the cop that it's not her boy. Because she's ashamed.
Why ashamed?
Because her boy killed a man's dog. And if it's her son, she'll have to pay for the dog.
These are some of Tommy's drawings that the school sent over. There's an awful lot of hate in them, and in the boy. Hate that's spreading over into his feelings about everyone.
Well, he's up against a lot at home. Well, Mrs. Randall puts a lot of emphasis on their nice home life.
I suspect that he rather likes it when she moves his feelings of failure and weakness. That may be why he picked her to begin with. He wants to be punished.
The kids in the back were pushing, and she pushed me, so I pushed her back. She fell on her face and her nose began to bleed.
How did you feel about that?
Oh, I don't know.
Were you sorry for her?
Sure.
And were you a little bit glad, too?
Oh, I don't know. I felt like laughing.
Well, she was the girl that caused you so much trouble. Maybe you felt that a little trouble for her would even things up.
Maybe.
Maybe when you pushed her back, you happened to have your foot sticking out so she would trip.
Maybe I did.
Yes, maybe you did trip her, just so you could get even. Anybody would understand that.
They would?
Well, I would.
Afraid I'd failed. I had failed, you see. Tommy's been the one big thing in my life for the last 10 years, the only thing I've cared about, the only thing I've lived for. I know it's the mother who's responsible for the child's character. That's why I've tried so hard with Tommy, why I've watched his habits and watched his friends. I've sacrificed everything so that we could live in a nice neighborhood, so we'd know nice people. We do have a nice, comfortable home, really we do. I've tried to be a good mother right from the day he was born. I wasn't able to feed him myself, but I never let anyone else fix the formula. I followed all the doctor's orders religiously. What can they do? Tommy's my child.
And it'll be up to you to do the most for him. But it's only fair to yourself to let a professional guide you. These things are never easy.
There's no use of fussing about the dressing if you leave the salad leaves wet. I don't know how many times I've told you, Agnes, that wet leaves lose the seasoning. Well, let's sit down. Well, what's the matter with you?
Oh, I don't feel very well, Mother. I've got a terrible headache.
Here's another one. This one was just told last week. A man gets home from work, he goes upstairs, the shades are drawn, his wife is in bed. Jumps in, he gets finished, he says, honey, that was the best sex we had in 35 years. And he runs downstairs to get a cup of coffee, comes in, his wife is standing in the kitchen making supper. He says, what are you doing here? She says, what do you mean, what am I doing here? He says, I was just in bed with you. She says, you weren't in bed with me. He says, what do you mean? He says, my mother is here. So when she hears that they had sex, so she runs, so he says, we just had sex, what are you doing? She says, I didn't have sex with you. So he says, what happened? She says, my mother's visiting, so she was upstairs. She runs up to have it out with her mother. She says, mother, how could you do that to me? Why did you say something? She says, 20 years, I'm not talking to this bum. You want me to start now?
Your father and I are discussing grown-up matters. You go wash up and come when I call supper. Go along now.
But Mommy, man.
Better do, as your mother says. I'll see you later.
No, Tommy. Now, Frank, you know perfectly well he has to work on his arithmetic before he goes to bed. We are going to work on it together every night until he begins to get passing grades. We agreed on that, Tommy, didn't we? Come on.
Oh, let them alone, Agnes. Let them enjoy themselves for a few minutes.
What do you mean, enjoy? What do you think this arithmetic is for? It isn't for me. I know how to do fractions. Besides, Tommy's not getting any allowance until he can prove he knows how to handle money. If these lessons are not for his good, what are they for, anyhow? What do you say, Tommy? Don't you want to do your arithmetic?
Yeah.
Poor woman, poor child, and poor man.
Yes. If he was looking for someone to mother him, I'd say he got more than he bargained for.
What's awful about it? They're not sending me. It's supposed to be a promotion.
But New York. You don't want to go to New York. What about our home? What about Tommy? Frank, you didn't say yes, did you?
No, I told him I'd think it over.
Thank goodness. I was really frightened there for a minute. I should have known you wouldn't make a mistake like that.
Why is it such a mistake? There's a raise goes with it.
Can't you see what they're trying to do? They give you a raise, but you seem to forget that you have to start out all over again, building up a following.
I might do very well in a big market like New York.
Might, but there's no might about your commission here. At least we've got a decent roof over our heads. Besides, how could we leave all this? You can't wander around with a family the way you did when you were single. Of course, if it means a great deal to you to go to New York, I guess...
It doesn't mean a great deal to me. I don't know. I suppose you're right, as usual. I just thought if I could get out of this rut, I could... I suppose you're right. What could I do against that kind of competition?
What kind of nonsense are you talking? Competition is the spice of life, as your father always used to say. We can't compete. It's time to lie right down and die.
Oh, Mother, you don't know what you're talking about.
No, of course not. I never do. You told me that ever since you were in high school. What is it? You tell me since I'm so stupid.
When she told you about all this, did she have any idea what caused the headaches?
No, she believes she was born with them.
There's an angry, frustrated woman.
In the 18th century,
It's what the stealing is all about.
presented for
It's
public
shown itself in every meeting we've
as
had.
exotic objects of public
I just told her
spectacle.
last week, I was talking about
One
the
more
Russian
time.
women that they don't get orgasms. I says, I was in America and I was married 47 years and I never had an orgasm. She said, too bad. That's the God's honest truth. She says, I survived bad, but you don't know. You don't miss. How do I know what I was missing? You know, and the thing that really killed completely my sex life was when I had my first abortion. Not that he wasn't concerned, because, you know, ours was a love affair, a burning love affair for 4 years.
We are going to follow some of these students as they go on a date and see if their manners have anything to do with their fun. Everyone thinks that his own manners are all right, even if they aren't perfect, and that being correct only helps to spoil fun. So let us compare what these students do and don't do with what we think is right.
I didn't wake up my sister was at 19, she woke up my mother. See, my girlfriend told me that she got it, but I didn't know where it's coming from. So then outside I took snow and washed myself. This is the God's honest truth.
Probably not too much, no. Not too much, because we just, in a small country town, it's just, like you say, we didn't have television, we didn't have anything to let us know. And with Mother, these were just natural things coming along. And it was just no big deal, you know? I mean, you made your life and took it step by step as things came along.
Women usually receive more training than men in the etiquette of dress because of its importance to their appearing always to best advantage. But girls have their problems just as fellows do. And what they think is in good taste may not be.
But we didn't know anything about anything. And nobody was going to tell you anything. If you asked, you got a smack across the face, because that was being fresh. Not supposed to know. There's a saying, but you don't know, don't hurt you, but that hurt you, but that doy. No, those days you didn't do it.
Probably because all life she was making.
No, that was not to do. For the simple reason, in case you became pregnant.
No wonder, with her mother treating her forever like a child.
No, just a boyfriend when we were young.
What kind of punishment she had?
Oh, he was real cute and a real nice, soft-spoken boy. And he was, he lived down by Aunt Annie. Remember Aunt Annie? Mm-hmm. About 4 blocks from her, so in riding her bicycle there again, we couldn't go just any place and every place, but I was allowed to go to his house because he lived near Aunt Annie. And then he would come over to our house, and Mother liked him too. He was a real nice boy.
So because he boarded with us, so that's our romance started. That went on for 4 years, and everybody said, we couldn't afford to get married. We didn't have the money. So, because he had to help his family, and I had to help my family. He had to bring his family over from Russia, and my family were here. My father was sick. My brother, my sister, what could green onions make? We made $8 a week. Right, a pair of shoes that time was $8, but still in all, you had to work all week to get a pair of shoes. You needed stockings to go with the shoes. You needed bloomers too. I mean, we could. So finally, we got married really on a shoe street. We got married, and I worked, and I became pregnant right away. 3 weeks after I was married.
Well, about 16. Sodie Stevens. Yeah, really about 16. And I remember in school we couldn't get in a car if somebody asked us to take us home after school. We had to be 16, or at least at my house. You had to be 16 to be able to get in a car with a boy and come home.
And she'd say, well, be sure you don't have let him get into your, what was it, she used to pants, I think it was. But she was, you know, talking about this and about that all the time. She tried to bring us up the best way she could.
He was crazy about it. Not because I say it, because I really was something in those days. You could compare, you know. And he was a nice, quiet man. He loved his family. Or he ached because he was very proud. He ached that they couldn't give him anything, but he wouldn't do anything about it. So he'd go to bed at 11 o'clock. He'd have to get up at 5 in the morning. So when he got the urge, whether I was asleep or was awake, he got his relief and he went to sleep.
He was soft-spoken. He went up to order some drinks, and I remember Harry said, do you like to dance, you know? I said, sure. So I remember we danced and, you know, had a good time. And then when he asked me if I would consider getting married, then I said, yes, I would consider it. So this romance went on, and this is who I married.
Yeah, no, after we got married, so I said, so you have this on because this is interesting. I says, then why don't you use a condom? He says, my mother was married 2 years until she had children. So maybe it's the same, because his mother didn't have children for 2 years. That means that's what we knew about sex. Not that he wasn't concerned, because, you know, ours was a love affair, a burning love affair. I was wrong if I said something. He was right. He says, at 43, how do I know if I still could have children? Why should I go around? You don't like robbers? Did you ever hear that one about the robbers? A minister got a job. You don't want to put it on the tape? I do. Yeah, it's very funny. You know, a minister got married, and he got a parish in a small town. So when you arrived, newlyweds, the community collected $25, gave him a wedding gift, and a year later they had a baby. They came and gave him again $25. The following year he has another baby. They gave him $10. The following year another baby. So they come over to him, send a delegation, says, listen, minister, what do you call a minister? Do you call a minister? The minister, we are a small community, we are very poor. We cannot afford to support a minister with a big family. So he says, what could I do? That's God's will. He says, God made rain. Man built robbers. So the same thing, but the men don't like robbers. The women like an abortion. So the doctor started to give me stuff to take. The doctor was a family doctor. I didn't want it, and I couldn't want it, and I couldn't have it because it was out of the way. The doctor was a family friend, so like he explained, he said, if you have 1 quart of milk, you could share it among 2 children. But if you haven't even got 1 quart of milk, 1 pint of milk, how could you share that among 2 children? So he started to give me stuff. My brother had a drugstore, so I didn't have to buy it. So he says he gave me stuff that would explode a bridge. Didn't budge me. When I was pregnant, 16 weeks, the doctor says if I don't abort, I'm going to have a misfit. Because of all that medication, he says, either it'll come out in pieces, either if it'll come in 1 piece. He says, you could bleed to death. So he's a family friend. I didn't have no money. I came to his office. He gave me an abortion. That was in the afternoon. The following morning, I woke up a bed full of blood. He scraped it, but no medication, not aspirin after either. In those days, 62 years ago. So, but at that time was illegal. You know, if he gets caught, he loses his license or goes to jail. So we called him up, he came and put me on the kitchen table, he scraped me all over again. Without anesthetics, without an aspirin, without nothing. He went away, he started to bleed again. So my husband called him, so he says, put an ice pack. But it was already in the fall, so we used to put out the food on the windowsill, because we couldn't afford to buy ice. So you went to the candy store, and you got a piece of ice, and the bleeding stopped. A week later, I went to look for a job in the sweatshop. See, I'll tell you this. See, I was so anxious to have an abortion that I would have rather died than have another child because I had no right. I had no food. So I says, just the same, like when I was pregnant the first time, I said I'd rather die. They had asked me if I have an abortion, if I want an abortion. I said, I'd rather die than have another child. And now I'd rather die and have another child than have another abortion. It wasn't the fear of the abortion, but I just, you know, it's a woman's instinct, I guess. I just wanted another baby. How did I become pregnant? You know, when Muriel was 16, I was 39. My husband was 43. So he says at 43, he felt that he wanted to see if he could have more children. He didn't want children, but his vanity, he wanted to see if he's man enough. We didn't have hot water. So we got finished. I says, what's the matter with the rubber? He says, I'm 43 years old. I want to know if I still could have children. So I became pregnant. No! How could I? Muriel was going into college. We lived in 2 rooms in the back. Paula was 11 and yeah, but she was 16. Yeah, she was 11 and a half. You have 2 children to educate. How could you? And we had just bought the house where we had a store. And we didn't have a stick of furniture. We were supposed to move. But what am I going to do with another baby? So my doctor was dead already, the one that was a friend of the family. So his brother sent me to a doctor. That doctor charged that time $200. I didn't have $200. So a neighbor of mine, you know how many years ago? When you were 16 and she's 64, 48 years ago. So my neighbor loaned me, I still remember, 20 $10 bills. And I come in, and it was during the war, so you had no water, you know, because when they scrape you, they rinse you. He didn't give me no injection. He didn't give me anything. So he lived alone. I don't know whether he was divorced or what, and he had a girl. So he says to the girl, bring me some water. She says, there's no water, because it was rationing oil, so there was no water. So finally he scraped me out. He says, call me a taxi. He says, I can't, because it'll be suspicious if they'll see you leaving from here. That was in Flatbush, and I lived in Northern Park. Excuse me, I got something in my throat. So anyway, so he says, go outside and walk up a piece, and then you see a taxi. I stopped the taxi. I say, Northern Park. He says, I don't go so far. So I'm not going out because, you know, I was with a napkin. And I went by myself, came home. I had to stay in the cold and wait until a taxi came. Then after my first abortion, I had no sexual desire at all. So my husband complained to the doctor, to the family doctor. So he says to me, why don't I inside him? I says, I'm only too happy if he leaves me alone. I don't want him to touch me. I don't want nobody to touch me. Till today.
He always knew that there'd be a meal on the table, and he'd always go get, do his job.
So my doctor explained it to me. You know, he said the constant fear of getting caught is so strong that it kills all the sexual desire. So I don't know, I didn't have an orgasm on account of me or account of him.
And he was there.
Yeah.
But like you say, she was the manager. She did everything.
No, he was right. It ached for me, I know. Yeah, but it still wouldn't put out a rubber. And after that, you know, when I got my hysterectomy, I was the happiest woman. I was, you know, and I was 57 years old and I was still menstruating. Yeah, and I was still scared of a kid. I know the doctor told me you can't get pregnant, but that fear was so constant in my mind. So then finally, when I got my hysterectomy, so my husband says they spoiled his fun. It's different now.
Kind of like mama to him.
The only way is if you live with a man, if you're not going to compromise, don't even get started. It's so much compromise. It's so much compromise. It is not only sexually. Sexually, the woman could do now. She gets a UD or she gets a what they call that, a diaphragm, or she could get a pill. But other things, but men are so different.
And as I say, I can remember that last 6 months before she died, the one time she washed her hair and had it all set and combed out. We were all sitting at the kitchen table, and Dad looked over and he said, "Ain't she pretty?" Looked over at her.
So that's what I say. You'll never prove to a man that you're right and he's wrong. And the man can prove to the woman, but a woman has a mother's instinct, and eventually she'll give in because she has that. She carries the baby for 9 months. The man has 9 seconds of fun. That's my experience. Of those that have 12 hours, I haven't experienced that yet. But see, a woman always has compassion. My father was a great scholar. So he used to say, when you marry, a wife is a wife. When you get older, a wife is a mother.
But as I say, if it wouldn't have been for her cancer, she would have lasted, I'd say, a lot of years, because otherwise she was a very strong woman. He went into coronary shock and was gone in 3 hours. And she called, like the funeral home, she prepared his funeral right from her hospital bed. She told him, I'll never forget, she said, now upstairs in the chest, she wanted Daddy to have a certain tie on and the darker blue suit coat and a certain tie. She said, now, and the white shirt, it had a tiny, tiny, thin blue line. And that was what she wanted on him when he was there.
Like I tell him, I said, how could a man have the patience of a woman? Did he 9 months waited for that baby? Did he have 20 hours of labor? Did he have to nurse the baby? Did he have to provide food for the baby? But like I said, the difference between the women is this, that we get mad and we say we're not going to take it, and then the mother instinct prevails. To me, Reagan is a plain, I call him a fucker, a son of a bitch. That's what I call it. No, not only about the Bush, it's about his staff of men that he had, one teeth bigger than the other. Now it came up his tape, 120s, I don't recall. He should have 120 boils on his tongue. Tell him I said so. You heard me tell jokes, you never heard me curse. I do that better. Tell me, are you hungry? Yeah.